A very warm welcome along, everybody, and it is a pleasure to have your company this week here on the Big Five Racing Podcast. When British sport is taken into its grand scale, there's a variety of events which convulse the great public attention. Be it the FA Challenge Cup final in May, World Championship boxing, filling out national stadiums on those dusk summer nights, Silverstone Street Wars during the Grand Prix season, and amidst all that, England's Lawn Club Tennis Championships in the southwest quarters of London. And for as monumental and thrilling as all those events are in their own rights, there's a paling in comparison to Merseyside's extraordinary April showcase. And it will always be the day the nation goes racing. It is an honour to bring you into our coverage of the 2026 Randox Grand National Festival from the stunning Aintree Racecourse. 3 days of action to run you through across the rest of the week. The best of a variety of Grade 1s, some big names both from and absent to the Cheltenham Festival last month. And of course, all of that leading up to the Grand National at 4 o'clock on Saturday. Do not miss it. Your Aintree tips will come from these two fine gentlemen that are on every single week, who are slightly more in better position to give you tips than myself this week. We'll start with yourself, Matty. Coming on to the wind down now of the National Hunt season, it works a bit differently to the flat because there's consistent sort of Group 1 events throughout the entire calendar. But the way the jump season works is you build up from Christmas time up to these festivals. We're now here. We're in the peak of it. The weather's good. Aintree has always been an incredible place to watch racing, a very fair track, a wide open Grand National as ever. Obviously, the dynamics changed over the years. This is a much more competitive race, but nevertheless, 3 fantastic days of Grade 1s, and there's so much to get stuck into.
Yeah, there is always a very good meeting. I was slightly underwhelmed by some of the entries. Obviously, Willie's not sending all of his superstars over. There's last year we had a trainers' championship at stake. It felt like there was a bit more on the line, whereas this year it looks all but wrapped up. But still, some very good horses out. A couple coming from Cheltenham, looking to a quick turnaround to try and come back and win here, or the ones that have been kept fresh and are going to run here. So it's good racing and plenty of puzzles to pick apart.
An extra week this year, Cotty, from last year whenever there was horses coming from the Cheltenham Festival over to Aintree, so there's been a little bit more respite than usual, just the way the calendar's worked out. There's always a huge trend between horses that come here fresh against horses that ran at the festival and may have been run, obviously, to the maximum capability. Is there any specific trends that you go with Aintree into looking towards? Is there anything of that dynamic that matters to you, or is it a case of back the best horses, doesn't matter when they last ran, and they'll just win at Aintree?
Yeah, I think you've got to be mindful of Cheltenham, but certain horses would have had harder races than some. So yeah, look at the the last time it ran, but then did the horse have a hard run? Was there an excuse for a disappointing run maybe that we'll touch on a bit later on with certain horses? And is there more to come? Do you think they can handle the racing and so on and so forth? So I think it depends on the profile and the type of horse, more than anything, more than when they last ran.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be looking into all the different trends throughout the Grade 1s, and then, of course, building up to the big one. We've got 5 races to take you through, and then, of course, it is the Grand National itself. That'll be the final race that we cover. We'll go through the majority of the runners and riders and try and find you the one of the bigger puzzles in the racing calendar, but hopefully we can manage to find some tips. Before that, though, we've got some good Grade 1 action as we get underway with the Aintree Festival. A selection of various Grade 1s that we're going to take you through from the days. We're going to start on the Thursday with one of the first races of the meet, and then it's always a very exciting prospect going into next season, and that is, of course, because it is a novice chase. This year, the William Hill Manifesto runs at 2:20 on the Thursday. That is a Grade 1 over 2.5 miles. We'll start at the top of the market. That's Lulamba, the 4-7 favourite, who we've seen in the Arkle, who made a big mistake at 2 out, and he lost his race there to Cargese and to Kopek de Boer. Cocktail Diving comes back down in trip. 3-1 there for Henry de Bromhead, who always has massive spring festivals. 12-1 about the other 3 contenders and bigger in the race. 5-minute race in the manifesto then, Matty, to kickstart proceedings. Lulamba at the top of the market, a horse that's been hugely on the radar after his win in the Game Spirit. He's been really good this season. Cheltenham, He made the mistake at 2 out, but obviously it didn't look like it was going to be his day anyways. Kopech de Board was cruising along, and Cargese had a 2-3 length advantage at the time. Comes here with neither of those to oppose, does have Cocktail Diving amongst a couple of others here. 4-7 is going to be rock solid for a lot of people this week. Do you agree with that statement?
I mean, look, if he turns up and, he performs to even 80% of his true ability, he's probably going to win here. He's clear £12, I think, above the field. So you'd imagine he rocks up here and takes all the beating. But I thought Mambo number 5 was the overpriced runner here in here. So it might be a case of a reverse forecast or something for me. But I just thought he's been screaming out for the step up to 2.5. He is only a 5-year-old, same as Lulamba. But I think Ben Paulins tried to stick at 2 mile for as long as he could. And last time at Warwick, he just proved that he hasn't quite got that speed. Especially around there, the fences came pretty quick for him. I think the step up will suit him massively. And I just thought at the prices, I could see him running into second behind Lulamba. But yeah, if Lulamba turns up and is on his gay game, he's gonna win here.
5 at the minute, so you could get 2 places about one of the 3 rags in the field. Lulamba, for you, Cotty, I suppose, is one of those horses that with not necessarily at Cheltenham where no favourites were going in, but obviously the tide is hoping to turn here, and there is going to be a lot of people that fancy this. 4-7's a little bit skinny. Did open up at 5-6. Can you understand why that money's coming? And given that there's less maybe high quality opposition here, is this one that's just going to fire in on the Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd like to think so. If this goes down, second race into the meeting, then you'd be questioning the remaining selections definitely on the day and probably over the 3-day meeting. But yeah, this should just go in really. The step up and trip can only be a big positive after the Arkle, albeit the type of calibre of horses in this race isn't as strong as the Arkle. Cocktail Divan ran at this meeting last year, was only beaten 5 lengths, so the left-handed sharp enough track will suit Cocktail Divan no problem. Good effort last time it ran at Aintree. Jax Jr. I think is probably a better horse over 2 mile 4 than 2 mile as well. Won a nice race round Ascot over 2 mile 4. Plugged on in the Arkle to get 4th off Steel Ally, and then the one Matty said, Mambo number 5 probably got a little squeak. I'd say agree with Matty with the step up to 2 mile 4 probably looks a good enough move. But yeah, if Lulamba's come out of Cheltenham fine, which I'd imagine he would have, as he's running here, should take a lot of beating. Was won back in late November and then reappeared in early December at Sandown. So the short break, he's proved to handle it before. So I can't see it being too much of an issue looking at his previous form.
Double the market too good. I fear for your temperament a little bit there. If you're going to get bogged down after 2 races, surely we'll find more winners than this, won't we? After 2 races.
Well, yeah, but if you can't get a potential superstar in at 4-7 against a horse that came 6th in the Jack Richards, then you'd be questioning your picks throughout the day.
All right, let's just hope it goes in then. There, Lulamba, I'd agree as well. I think he's just too good for this field, and I want to see him be a perennial 2.5-3 mile horse next season as well. I think he's really the bollocks. I was on him for the Arkle, didn't happen, so hopefully he can make some money back here. Next race we'll take you through then, the 255 is the Racing Welfare Aintree Bowl Chase, another grade 1, 3 miles and a furlong. Second in the Gold Cup, Django Bay returns here possibly as the even money favourite. A little bit more depth to this one on Perret Pass, who was very disappointing in the Ryanair's 4-1. Spallan's Tower is in here at 92. He's also got a national entry. Protectorat 8 and Pictory 18-1. Another small field, I suppose. When you were sort of alluding to the fact this might not be the most exciting entry, Matty, probably part of that is down to the field sizes here. To only have 5, possibly 4, possibly 3 in the bowl. Very disappointing in years gone by where we've seen some fantastic horses win this. Gaelic Warrior, of course, won it last year. Django Bay was behind him in the Gold Cup. Is he going to be able to come here fresh and win this? Even Stevens?
Wouldn't be my idea of a bet at evens, to be honest. I just think we all know how tough that Gold Cup can be. He ran very well, but it's a quick turnaround, and not at even money. I wouldn't be prepared to part with much money for that. I think I said it last time on the podcast. Impere Pass, as soon as April comes around, a bit of sun on the back. This horse just seems to absolutely just revolutionize himself, really. You have to just put a line through last time out, which I know is difficult for some punters to do, but I think you've got to. He always saves his best runs for this time of the year. Comes here a fresher horse than the others. Did run at Cheltenham but pulled up. I think, like you say, just put a line through it. Spillans Tower was an interesting declaration for me, considering they didn't run at Cheltenham because the ground was not slow enough for him. I can't see it.
Is he more likely to go here than the National, do you think?
Well, he's been declared here, so I'd imagine I'm pretty sure. I read in the week that he goes here. He'd have to lump a lot of weight round in the National, I guess. But I suppose most of them do now. I see him running here. To be honest, it's obviously an easier opportunity than the National, but the ground with him would concern me. Same with Protectorate. He's 11 now, and I think a bit of cut in the ground suits him a lot better. Impere Pass for me, and I'd be quite confident he'd be one of my better selections for the meeting.
Looking to bounce back from a disappointing run of the Ryanair at the Cheltenham Festival. You were at Hereford yesterday, Cotty, and Nico de Boinville was on a couple of shorties. He didn't get one beat at a short price, but he was beaten. Ran disappointingly. You're already on the lamb. Are you going to fire into the Nicky Henderson Thursday double here with Django Bay at evens? Do you see that as a good price coming out of the Gold Cup, or would you have similar affection to Matty there, thinking it's a hard race, this might be difficult to win?
Yeah, I think the Gold Cup is the pinnacle, isn't it? It's the best race, and therefore, probably the most grueling and hardest race to bounce back from. But age on his side, he's only 7, so maybe can come out the race better than if he was a couple years later on down the line. You'd probably have more question marks if Impere Pass can bounce back after a disappointing run in the Ryanair. The vet on the Racing Post said the vet had nothing to report. So, second in the Gold Cup showed very good form. I mean, would have been a convincing winner himself had Gaelic Warrior not run. And then you've got Impere Pass that obviously pulled up in the Ryanair. Both got the factors. I completely agree with Matty. I'm not too sure why Suppliance Tower has even got a declaration, really, due to the ground. And then I think Protectorate's probably had its day in this sort of company. And then down to Pictory, you'd arguably say the same. So yeah, even money. I say it's skinny enough, but then you can't really find another selection of. Impere Pass did beat it last time at this meeting last year, but that was over 2 mile 4. I would side with Django Bay, but I wouldn't be as confident as I would be with Lalamba.
I agree. I think he's quite skinny here at even money, but then again, I look at the rest of the race and think, does he really have a lot to be? Protectorate's probably had his day. Pictory, obviously Ascot specialist, but I don't think he'd hate Aintree if he came here as well. 18's maybe not the worst price in the world. Spillans Tower's a good horse. We've seen him win the Cotswold there a few weeks ago, but equally, I just think, he needs softer ground. And on Impere Pass, horse I quite like, but I just would be a bit hesitant off the back of that Ryanair one. That being said, how many times have we seen Willie Mullins come back with horses that have being abysmal one run, they come back the next day and they just go and piss a grade 1 by 10 lengths. So I don't think I'd be having a bet on this on Thursday, personally. I just thought it was a bit too difficult to have the winner in. Keeping moving there, we've got the 405 from the Thursday slate as well. This is the William Hill Aintree Hurdle, another grade 1 over 2.5 miles, won last year by Lossiemouth after one of Constitution Hill's many falls in recent times. This year, it's a different looking market. We've got joint favourites now at the minute. The New Lion, 2-1 up in trip from his attempts in the Champion Hurdle. Equally that for Brighter Days Ahead, who joins the top of the market. I wouldn't call him a legend, but the long-standing El Fabiolos there at 11-2. Alexi and Golden Ace ran in the hurdle as well. At Cheltenham are 9s and 14s, 16s and 33s, about the others in the race. We had it off really with the new Lion on the podcast. Cotty, so we were both very dismissive of his chances of winning a champion hurdle because he wasn't a 2-miler. This now feels like he's getting his adequate trip, which is why he returns to the top of the market. The best one we've seen from him was the 2.5 mile race, the Turners he won at the festival. Has he got the capability back up in trip here to finally sort of land money for people who've been waiting a long time to make something on this horse?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the same. You could say the same things about the new line as you could Lalamba. The step up to 2 mile 4 would really look to play in this horse's strengths compared to the trip he was running at the Cheltenham Festival last month. A horse I am quite interested in this though is Al Fabiolo back over hurdles.
Really?
Yeah, I just think back over hurdles. The maestro Willie Mullins, he knows what he's doing. Looked very good at Leopardstown not too long ago, albeit was 2-7 in just a normal hurdle race. I think the pot was only worth about 10 grand, and there wasn't too much to beat. But the third that day, Maximum has come out and won a race at Clonmel against a couple of decent enough rivals, and he put that horse away by 24 lengths. So yeah, I think the new line will definitely have a better chance in this than he will the champion hurdle. I mean, he's 2-1 to win this. A week before the champion hurdle, he was 2-1 to win the champion hurdle. So I'd say he'd have a lot better chance of winning this than he did the champion hurdle. But yeah, I just think try and take him on and find the value. Couldn't have brighter days ahead over 2 mile 4. I think that's a 2 mile merchant, but I'd imagine that will fill the second or third spot. But yeah, I'll chance Al Fabiolo, and as it's not fences, hopefully get into a nice rhythm, and yeah, follow brighter days ahead, or maybe even make it and see if we can hang on.
Yeah, I like one of the Midland points you made there. This is around the same price as he was in the anti-post when we covered the champion hurdle, where I said he was the worst priced favourite of the champion for the last 10 or 15 years. This now feels like a much more appropriate 2-1, but it's El Fabiolo for you there at 11-2, third in market. I don't ever ask you two for your picks before we start this. I like the fact of not knowing. One thing I did not think was going to happen there, Matty, was that Cotty was going to back El Fabiolo. Stun me to death if you're going to double that up.
No, not for me. I think if Al Fabiolo wins this, it's a sorry state for the English hurdlers next year. I mean, these a lot of these are our best sort of 2.5 mile hurdlers. So we'll be in big trouble if Al Fabiolo, the 9-year-old, goes and wins. I always picked this race for the new line even before the champion hurdle. I thought, even if he won the champion hurdle, I still seen him ending up in here. I think this is the perfect race for him. 2.5 miles, nice flat track. I think this is his race, and this will be his return to form in a Grade 1. I just think, brighter days ahead. I don't quite agree with Cotty that she's a 2-mile merchant. I mean, she's the only course and distance winner in the field. So I don't doubt the trip, but there's always seems to be, a reason or an excuse with her. She seems to get just finds a way to get beat. So I wouldn't be taking her on. I'd actually have the new Lion a bit skinnier, to be honest, and they're joint favourites at 2-1. So I'm quite happy at the market position at the moment. And obviously Alexi and Golden Ace, Potter's Charm, Lucky Place, they're no mugs. It's a decent race actually for the lack of quality in some of the other graded races. I think it's not too bad here. But yeah, I do just fancy the new Lion to go and win here. Like you said, a lot of people got burnt fingers by him at Cheltenham, and this is the time to go back and collect. And I think from here, if he goes and wins here, it tells you exactly where you're going next year, which will be up in trip, and ultimately he's likely going to end up in the stayers next year, I'd imagine. But New Lion for me to get back on track.
Yeah, straight back to the well. I agree. I think New Lion, this is perfect for him. 2.5 miles. If he is the superstar that Dan Skelton needs to prove as a grade one, obviously he's had an incredible season, but his grade one operations compared to the likes of a Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott, etc., not quite there yet. But this seems like his breakout horse to be able to do that, and I think the New Lion is going to win that 2.5 mile race pretty comfortably in the end. Right, that's our grade one slate from the Thursday done. Before we move on to the Friday card, best bets from these two from the rest of the card. I've got to cut you first because 7 races on the Thursday, plenty of grade ones, a little bumper for the mares at the end as well. What do you like on the first day of the Grand National Festival?
Yeah, a couple I like in the other races that we haven't spoke about. In the 440, the sixth race, I do like Highlands Legacy at 7-1. Has managed to get in here off 11 stone 1. Was really sweet on this at the Cheltenham Festival in the Grand Annual, but just missed out on the weights by a couple of pound. Priced in at 7-1, third in the market. I expect it to go very, very close. I'd imagine the favourite of Nichols has probably been a long term target, so we've got that to beat. But I think this horse is in the improve and has got very good form in the book also to match. And then the other one I like is actually in the bumper, the Jeremy Scott horse Princess Day. I think it was a pretty hot race last time out that he won at Newbury, and travelled through the
Bolted as
race
well.
really nicely and quickened up well. So yeah, Highlands Legacy in the sixth race, and then Princess Day in the last. There's a 33-1 double. So yeah, I'll be having 2 singles and a double on that, as well as the 3 selections from the races we've already covered.
Yeah, one in the national handicap there with Highlands Legacy against Sombree for Nichols and Princess Day, the favourite in the bumper. Matt, your best bets from Thursday?
Yeah, just one in the 440, not the same as Cop, but I've spent the last 2 years taking on this favourite Sands Brewitt, and I've got it wrong both times, so I'm going to stick with him here. I think not the strongest renewal again, and Paul Nichols makes it very clear that this horse's season is mapped out for this race. I imagine he'll be absolutely ready for his life. Lovely weight, 11-1. Cobden back on board, pop out, make the run, and normally is very hard to catch. So Sands Brewitt for me, and I'm sure you're going to go on to the Triumph, the 4-year-old race. I know you've got a big fancy in that.
Yeah, if one of us didn't have a million things going on at the minute, he would have just gone and given you the tips. But for the sake of putting one up, for the sake of this, Selma Devari 11-4. I might lose my entire bankroll in the first race of the entire meeting. Obviously, I've spoken about this a few times. Backed it at the DRF, backed it in the Cheltenham Triumph as well. Second and fourth, got a bit of a shit run in the Triumph as well. Not saying it was Harry Skelton's fault that he came across Paul Townend, but it was. Cleaner run this time, hopefully. I think that this is a horse that's learning all the time. It's not been with Willie Mullins for very long. This just looks as I don't like using the word certainty, but my God, I'm going to have a big bet on this one. And I agree with you, actually, Sombree is another one for me. I backed it last year in that Fox Hunters race, and it just seems to be a long-term target for this, like Cotty said. So that'd be my 2 best plays, as well as the New Lion on the Thursday, but Selma Devari. Oh, it could get silly. Right, Thursday into the books, then we've got a couple of races from the Friday we're going to take you through before we get to the National. The first of those is I think I put the time for this wrong, I do apologise, but it's the 220, the William Hill Mildmay Novices Chase. That's another grade one, over 3 miles and change. Wide open affair for this one. 7-2 is the top of the market for Regent Stroll, the very expensive purchase for Sir Alex and friends. Salver, he's going to want a little bit boggier, but he ran a belter at Cheltenham on faster ground. It's 4-1. Miami Magic 9-2 likes this place. Wendigo 9-2. Cotty loves that horse. Big prices about the rest. Wendigo's been like your horse of the year, Cotty. You put him up at the end of last season's podcast saying he was one to follow. You've backed him time and time again. Ran relatively well throughout the season. 3 miles one here again for you. Is that what's taken your eye here for the Mildmay?
I think this is a very good race. Actually, could make a case for I think 6, 7 runners here. Wendigo, yeah, was ran a decent enough race at Cheltenham. Would have probably placed, apart from when coming down at the last. Interesting to see Johnny Burke's got the ride. I'd imagine Gavin Sheehan's either suspended or injured. I'd imagine. I don't know if Matty knows or.
Not actually too sure, but yeah, I can't see any other reason why there'd be a jockey change. To be fair, must be a suspension or injury.
And then you mentioned about Salva probably wanting the ground on a bit more cut in it, which you're right in saying. However, we'd have said that.
Salva might have busted that myth last time up because he ran a fantastic third
Well,
in
yeah,
the
that's what I was
3 mile
going to
race on
say.
fast ground. So.
Yeah, we'd have said that 4 weeks ago. Previewing the Brown advisory, wouldn't win. Ran a cracker at 25-1, so that would have a good shout. Gary Moore's absolutely banging in the winners.
Yeah.
At the minute, I think he had a treble at Chepstow the other day. He had a couple at Plumpton yesterday. So yeah, the yard's in good form. Regent Stroll doesn't tend to run a bad race once he sorts his prelims out. And if that ran if that ran well in the first couple of furlongs and settled nicely, that would be a tough nut to crack. But the one I have landed on and decided to go with is Miami Magic. I was very impressed with this horse at Newbury last time out. Charlie Hammond gets on very well with this horse. Jumped really nicely at Newbury last time out. Doesn't have to make the running. Can sit up with the pace, or can make the running. Won on good ground on New Year's Day round Cheltenham. So the quicker they go in, the better for this horse. Actually beat Regent Stroll that day. Regent Stroll was given it £5 that day. They're off level weights today, so maybe Regent Stroll could turn the tables. But I think Miami Magic, if you can get into a nice rhythm, then I'd like to think that would be there at the finish.
Yeah, a couple of good runs from Miami Magic at Aintree over the years. Was second in the Turner's Mersey a couple of years ago to Potter's Charm as well. So, and maybe there's some good form lines to make out of that as this one goes up to 3 miles novice chasing. Yeah, there's a wide open selection really here, isn't there, Matty? It's actually a pretty decent novice race, to be fair. A lot of good English contenders in there. Gold Dancer comes over from Ireland. So, take your pick.
I'm gonna take a risk that Salva's going to be okay on the ground. Like we said, he ran well at Cheltenham, just behind Kitzbühel, back in third. I think he's the best horse out of these. I think he's by far got the most ability. Like you say, there's a potential argument he's a lot better on softer ground, but I'm gonna hope that theory's wrong. I just think he brings some very good form into the race, albeit he has been beaten by Doyen Quest, who's at 10-1 here. So, that horse could potentially be overpriced there for the Skeltons. Had a long break. And I mean, obviously, if you're going to, Willie Mullins and Paul Townend have got a runner in there at 6-1, you've got to be cautious because that horse could just go and win. But doesn't seem to me as if he's screaming out for a step up in trip. But he comes here the top rated, and I'd be very surprised if we see him go off 6-1, although lack of market confidence from connections would probably be a concern. I agree with you both. I think this is it's a trappy affair. I don't think it's the greatest race in the world, but I think they're all good animals. I don't think we'll see any Gold Cup horse for next year come out of this, but definitely a trappy race. And I'm going to hope that Salva defies the myth of needing heavy ground.
Yeah, nice shout there for Salva to try and get one up on the board. I've seen Jordan's Cross in there at 12-1, and he's been a horse I've been pretty big on all season, but he was very disappointing. Well, not disappointing, but he ran in the middle of the pack of that Jack Richards a couple of weeks ago. The Gold Dancer was second at a big price. I just thought I might have a little stab on that at 12 if my week's going bad to try and get a bit of a back, but he won a big handicap there. On Trials Day, that was the one that appealed to me, but I wouldn't put you off any really at the top of the market. Regent Stroll just needs to learn to behave, and he will be a much better horse. He's in open company next season. 3:30 from Fridays, the JCB Melling Chase, another Grade 1, this time over 2.5 miles, and it is 9-4 the field. The legendary John Bon, one of the biggest money makers in the game, the 9-4 favourite to come back from his second in the Ryanair, keeping up that extraordinary result of first and second places over the years. Hartwood 5-2, who won the Ryanair, if he was to come over. One Grey Dawning in there at 11-4. Interested to see if he comes here, and then big prizes about the rest. He's already jocked up, Matty, so one would assume Grey Dawning is going to bypass the ball that he was disappointing in last year to come here over 2.5 miles. He's been campaigning as a Ryanair horse next year as well. And so obviously the idea here is get him used to 2.5 miles in a necessarily open opportunity to win a Grade 1 here at Aintree, a place he's ran a couple of times. Flat deck going to suit him, and would you be keen on him winning here?
Tricky race, and I can't say I've absolutely nailed my hat down on a selection yet. I think a good idea by Dan to drop down to 2.5. I think there has potentially been doubts about his absolute stamina. I know he won a Betfair Chase, and that's 3 mile on very soft ground at Haydock, but it didn't quite turn into a slog. The last
caveat,
day when he won it.
But that caveat with him winning the Betfair was look at the quality of that race. Obviously, Royal Big Guy ran him into second, and it wasn't great.
That's exactly the point. Yeah, so I think maybe his stamina in the Gold Cup in a better race got tested. I mean, I don't think he'd have won anyway. He didn't quite have the class on the day, but yeah, I think the step back down to 2.5, I imagine he'll be ridden very aggressively. I imagine he'd be right up there. He's a fantastic jumper, and I imagine they'll try and make use of it. He's never had success at Aintree. He fell in a Grade 1 novice hurdle there. He was third behind Gaelic Warrior. I think he's third behind Gaelic Warrior and second behind Gaelic Warrior around there. So yet to get his head in front around there. And I'd probably just like to see a little bit more rain around, a bit more soft in the going than what it's going to be. I think if you pin me down and forced a selection out of me, it'd probably have to be John Bon. He doesn't really miss, especially at this meeting. I mean, he just mops it up at this meeting every year. Done what he does at Cheltenham last time. Sort of made life very hard for himself. Still ran well into second. I think he's probably going to take all the beating here. He's 10 now, but he doesn't look like he's regressing at all. And he will have to. This will be a big performance from him, though. I mean, he's beat the likes of Pic D'Orhy in this before. This is a much stronger race. He's had a hard season, plenty of gruelers in there. So hopefully he can bounce back. I think Le de Sud is stepping up to 2.5 mile for the first time. Hasn't screamed to me as if that's what he wants, but it'd be interesting to see if, with everything happening that little bit slower for him, whether he does just pass a few stragglers late on. I imagine he'll be held up and ridden to pick up some prize money, but he could just creep into it. And JPR1, quick mention for him, he ran a stormer the last day around Cheltenham. So I think this is a decent race, and this is one I'll be looking forward to big time.
Very nice. Good ride that for Tristan Doyle, I assume, as well, under the sort of Harry's going to be on Grey Dawning. So, yeah, good opportunity for him, but it's John Bon at the top of the market against your old friend Grey Dawning. There's only one question I have to ask Harry Cottrell, and that's how far does John Bon win the Melling by?
A short head, I think.
Oh, that's not very confident.
No, I think he'll win, but he'll just do enough. I mean, was put aside by Hartwood at the Cheltenham Festival. Hartwood was very impressive. I thought John Bon's jumping wasn't too bad on the whole for John Bon, so you couldn't really find too much excuses there, apart from that he does perform better away from Cheltenham than he does at Cheltenham, which I think will be a big factor. Yeah, I think it'll be between John Bon and Hartwood, and I'll definitely be playing the reverse forecast as well, just in case John Bon does go down. I think the only way he will lose will be if Hartwood was to beat him. I couldn't have Grey Dawning purely to the fact that Dan's trained him all year for the Gold Cup. Was obviously disappointed in the Cotswold Chase when not fully tuned up, and was getting him 100% for the Gold Cup. And I think Dan said in one of his interviews, if you're going to have a go at the Gold Cup, then you need the horse to be at peak condition for the Gold Cup. So was a decent enough run in the Gold Cup. But if you break it down, was any I think 8-10 lengths ahead of La Press at the line. I just think if you're 100% for a Gold Cup, then you're not going to be at your full potential for the Mellon 30 days down the road. So although he's a very good horse, I'd rather be waiting for next season to back Grey Dawning than I would be in this type of race. So I think it's out the top two in the market. But I'll be backing John Bond to win, and then the reverse forecast, as I said.
Yeah, very nice there. 2 votes of confidence for John Bon. Hard word for me. I just 5-2. He was so good in that Ryanair. I don't know why he couldn't just beat John Bon again, to be honest. Not saying John Bon's past his day. He loves it here. He's won this twice, but this looks a bit more of a competitive renewal than the 2 he's won previous. So just thought Hartwood was probably going to be the one I side with there in the melon. Best bets from the rest of the Friday then. So that's the 2 grade ones into the books that we're going to cover. I will come to Matty first then to give us your best bets from Friday at Aintree. Ladies' Day, fantastic day. Me and Cotty have been a few times and well behaved. You like Grey Dawning ground there on a Friday. You were in extraordinary form that day. Who else have you got for this Friday this year?
Quite a few actually on the Friday. First race, 2.5 mile handicap hurdle, a race that Dan Skelton's done very well in. Glance at Midnight making his debut for the yard. They bought this horse after he was second in the Sydney Banks at Huntington behind Active Innocence, who went on to run very well at the festival, second in the Turners, and it was ahead of Sinatra, who Dan trains, ran okay in the county. I think they've picked this horse up, and they've obviously thought this is the perfect race for it. It's only entry of the festival, a race they always target, and it's going to get a nice low weight here. Like I said before, if you can't beat them, sometimes you just got to join them. So Glance at Midnight for me in the 145. Moving on the Friday on to the 405, which is the Topham. We'll come on to yours in a minute. 2 of your absolute favourites are in here, but the second string for Dan, Boomborn, Tristan rides back on better ground. I think this course could have a real good chance. Carries a bit less weight than the favourite Madara, and jumping will be not a problem in this. And like I say, just springs off that better ground. So at each way 14-1, I think is a good bet. And finally, then onto the Grade 1 Sefton Novices Hurdle. This is a horse I was quite keen on at Cheltenham. Mondui Boy for Ben Jones and Ben Paulin. Ran very well in the Albert Bartlett. Beaten 5 lengths by who real pose here, the favourite. But I think this return to a flatter track is going to suit this horse. And Ben Paulin's kept no secret in that he thinks a hell of a lot of this horse, and he thinks he's a potential superstar. So 6-1 there for Mondui Boy. That's a couple for me from the Friday.
2,500 Trixie there. Glance at Midnight, Boom Bomb, Mondui Boy. The best bets from Matty Blackmore on the Friday at Aintree. Cotty, 7 more races lined up for you. Grade 1s, handicaps, Grand National Fences. What more could you like? Ladies' Day, who is your best selections?
Yeah, there's 2 I like from the races that we haven't touched on. In the 405 and the Topham, I think Madara could still be very well handicapped for Dan and Harry Skelton. Currently 6-1 favourite. The way he jumped at Cheltenham, I'd have no question marks over his jumping around the national fences. Hiked up £10 for his winning the plate, but I still think, if he's off a marker 150 that day in the plate, I'd still think he'd have been still would have been the winner. So I still think he's well handicapped off a marker 150. So I don't mind having a pop on that at 6-1. And then in the 440, the Grand Sefton Grade 1, bit of a long shot, but I think this race might cut up looking at some of the horses entered here. One for Dan Skelton, Tormud Giant's Bane. For Dan, Tristan has the ride here at 40-1. Ran last time out at good to soft on Doncaster, won by 24 lengths, beating an even money shot of Henderson's. I thought was a good performance that day. Made a shocking error 2 out that day, and it almost looked like, if a lot of horses made that type of error, it'd be race over. But he was travelling that well. He kind of picked himself back up and was soon back on the bit and went clear. I was impressed with that performance. Obviously, this is a massive step up in trip from not trip in grade from the Doncaster race, but Dan wouldn't enter the horse for no reason. Tristan's already booked up, so I'd imagine that he will take his chance, and I think a few above him in the market will come out, and I can't see the horse being 40-1 on the day, especially if Dan has a good first 10-11 races. Then I'd imagine the each way money would start to come.
Yeah, very nice there. Tormund's Bane at 40-1, a massive price there. Tristan Durrell, who only had one ride. We had him on for the podcast last year and won on it, so he's got a nice little selection here, including Harry Lowe's, who I quite like in the 5:15 there at 7-1. It was an exciting prospect, would we say, at the start of the season. So he looks like he might be able to get one up. That'd be a huge ride for Tris. But two big ones there: Madara and Tormund's Bane, Tormund Giant's Bane in the 440. That's the best of the action then from the Friday. We've got a little bit of a situation here with two horses in the top, and because I'm in peril here, LA Francais 20-1 and Croke Park 25-1. They can't both win. So who's more likely to win, Cotty? Croke Park or LA Francais in the top? You can't say neither.
I'll give it to you and go Croke Park, just so you can have a bit of confidence boost. I don't think Illifrace Francois will get round, so I've got to say Croke Park.
Yeah, can we open up a market on which one will pull up first? I think that's one I'd be more interested in having a pop on.
Who do you like in the top, Matty? Because I'll give you the match better deaf here.
Boom Born, I thought was a nice price. 14
All right, Croke Park.
Here we go, Bob. Can you open up a Bob bookie for one race? What price is it for both of those not to cross the finishing line?
Neither of them to finish.
Yeah, both of them to DNF.
40-1.
How much?
What?
40-1 That neither of them get rounds.
I'll have a fiver on, please.
I'll have a lot more than a fiver on.
That neither of those horses finish in the top of them.
Yeah, I'll have a fiver on at 40-1.
Francais.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep it responsible. I'll have a fiver, and you can send me the money over Saturday morning so I can have it on Grangeclare West to win the national.
Two horses that are both ex-Grade 1 winners in their own right, both at their adequate trip here. Both of them have run at Aintree before. What on earth?
They're adequate trip for Croke Park. I thought 4.5.
Who's won a Grade 1 over 2.5 miles before?
How long ago was that?
Last season.
Yeah, and he's not getting any quicker.
It was like decades ago now. No, I think. Well, I don't think either of them are going to win it, obviously, but I think that they've got a good chance of getting into places. But that's me 200 quid out of the podcast, and I'm not even betting this weekend.
I think that might be me nap of the festival. That 40-1.
Right, anyone who wants 40-1 can have some. Done.
Both bring each other down would be hilarious.
This might get our most views ever if you can pop that in the podcast. Bob's offering 340-1 pokes.
If I ended up taking like a load of liability on that, like 10 people had a fiver on each, and I had to pay out like $2,000 the next day.
Yeah, there wouldn't be another episode of the podcast, would there?
No. Anyways, right, before we get into Two Dark Waters, that's the top of the best of the Friday action covered. So we have now got to move on to the biggest race of the year. For anybody who kind of grew up in the Northwest, and obviously this goes globally, the Grand National was always a race that very much caught the eyes of the attention. It's known as the day that the nation goes racing. Maybe not still with the whole wide open handicap aspects, but it is still an absolute pleasure to be able to talk about this race and to bring you into our coverage this year of the 4 o'clock on Saturday, which is the Randox Grand National Handicap Chase over 4.25 miles. These are the main runners and riders for the National in 2026. Top of the market, we've got I Am Maximus. Won this race in 2024 as the 15-2 favourite. Will carry the top weight again of 11-12. Can he get back to his absolute best? Grangeclare West has won brilliantly in these over the years. 10-1 for Cheveley Park. That would be a huge story. JP's horses are Rocco and Jaguar at 14s at the top of the market. It looks like John just taking a Rocco. Mark Walsh likely to get the ride on Jaguar. Could he finally land his national? Nick Rocket won this last year, 16-1. Patrick Mullins likely to take the ride of that one. Fantastic story from last year. Not a bad run last time. Not a lot of form to find, but is off 11-11. Oscar's brother, another one of the JP stud here for Connor King. Was nice last time out, looked progressive as 16s. Panic Attack for the Skeletons. They've not won the National yet. Maybe one of the best chances they've had in a while off a featherweight. 16-1, Harry and Dan. Johnny Hewitt, 16s, who won at the Cheltenham Festival. Haiti Colors, who pulled up. Will he come here? Will he come to this National? Who knows? Sean Bowen, that would be his biggest ride by date. Monty Star is 20-1 for Henry de Bromhead. Pretty good at Aintree most of the time. A lot to find, though, on form figures. Captain Cody, 20-1 there for Willie Mullins, who's got a whole host. Stellar Story, one of the big chances for Gordon Elliott at 25-1. Final Orders, who won the race at the Cheltenham Festival, was 25-1 as well. Big prices about the rest in the market. We talked about it last week, Matty, about this race and what it means and all the various things that come into it. It still remains a high quality, high class Grade 1 handicap that feels like a Grade 1 these days with the runners. And we'll go right to the very top of the market and let you run through the National. I Am Maximus is there at 15-2. Looks probably like it's going to be the mount of Paul Townend. If that's the case, then obviously the money's going to continue to flow. Was second in the race last year. He won the race, of course, in 2024. He has to carry the top weight, but that's different these days. Any impact or influence there to say I Am Maximus can or can't win the National, and then give us your breakdown for the race this year?
Oh, he definitely can. He's not one of my picks, but I just think you got to try and find a bit of value somewhere else. But I mean, arguably his best run this year was second, Leopardstown behind Affordel Fury, and that was a fantastic run. He looked better than ever. So there's no signs at all as to this horse is going backwards. We'll have to lump top weight around, but like we say, it's not too much of a test anymore, really. It looks like Townend's gonna pick I Am Maximus. You can't really blame him. I'd much prefer if he was on Grangeclare West, and leave you two to talk about that horse. I know you're both quite keen on him. For me, I'm gonna put 3 up for now. I mean, you can always change once you see declarations and stuff, but the 3 I've got my eyes on currently. We'll go in market order. I think out of the Green or Guerrero pair, Jaguar for me. Like I said, getting Mark Walsh on, hopefully that's a big tick for me. This horse
we haven't got that confirmed yet, but I would assume it's going to be that or Oscar's brother. And
yeah, I mean, I was just trying to think about what Harry Cobden would ride. I imagine he'll ride Captain Cody, won't he?
Yeah.
That was my only other thought was would Cobden get a last minute leg up on Jaguar? I mean, that'd be superb. But Mark Walsh is, I'm happy enough with Mark Walsh. This horse Jaguar's got tons of ability. It's just if it all clicks for him. He normally manages to find a way to get beat, but he always stays strong and is always doing his best work at the line. So that's gonna help him a lot here with the trip. He's just got to get into a good rhythm, and I'm hopeful that Mark Walsh will get him into that. He got him into a good rhythm at Cheltenham, but just probably bumped into Johnny who was probably better handicapped on the day. He'd be my first. He's my first one in the market. Second one, a bit further down, smaller connection, same owner though. JP McManus is Oscar's brother for Connor King. Daniel King will probably keep the ride, which would be a massive moment for him, and it'd be a great family story if this horse was to go and win. there's been no secret that this horse is an out and out stayer. I mean, he ran in 3 mile point to points, finished second 3 times, and then they went straight into a 3 mile maiden hurdle. I mean, if that doesn't scream this horse will be a national horse down the line, I don't know. They flirted with 2.5 miles a couple of times, but 3 miles always been this horse's trip. And he looked in very good form. He beat the Wall Park in Navan over 3 mile, and was second in the fourth in the Brown Advisory. Sorry, behind Kitzbühel, not beaten all too far. Solid enough form lines. I just think with it being a slightly smaller trainer and jockey, this horse is slightly overlooked in the market. An improving 8-year-old. And then finally one at a bigger poke, 50 to 1 at the moment. Last year's Brown Advisory winner, Lecky Watson. He's really gone backwards, to be honest, since that performance. He's seventh, eighth, and he's had a couple of letters in there, pulled up and fell. So not ideal, but we know what Willie Mullins can do with regards to getting horses back. And Nick Rocket was a huge price last year, and I think this horse could follow in similar footsteps at a big price. But I think it's always key with the national. You'll hear from Willie on the day, and he normally sort of irons out his selections and to his fancies. I normally take quite a lot from that. He's normally pretty bang on. I think he mentioned Nick Rocket last year on the morning of, and I actually went and backed it based on that. And he wasn't wrong. So those are my 3 at the moment. If Townend was to get on Grangeclare West, I'd probably have to back him, because I agree with you too. I think he's got a massive chance. But I just think if Paul thought he was, that good of a chance, he'd pick him. But we'll see. There's mine for the national anyway.
3 selections for Matthew Blackmore in the Grand National. Jaguar, Oscar's brother, Lecky Watson at various prices. Try and land the biggest race of the year. All right then, Cotty, this is what we're all here for. It doesn't really matter what me or Matty says, because it's all about you here. And we were just saying off air in between, there is one that you fancy massively here. I'm on the same horse as well, and I really want you to sell this to the British public. Who's going to win the Grand National?
Yeah, I'll put 2 at one for a win purpose, and then 1 each way, because the second one can't win because the first one's going to win. Yeah, I'm really keen here on Grangeclare West. Was very unlucky in this race last year. I think if it didn't make a shot in error at the last, then I think this horse would have won the race last year. Comes into the race this year after winning the Bar 1 betting Bobby Joe Chase at Fairyhouse. That race was won last year by Nick Rocket, who obviously came on to win the Grand National. Grangeclare West last year came 3rd in the national, as I've said. The form coming into that race wasn't great, hence probably why the horse went off 33 to 1. Has had a much better campaign this year. Looked really, really impressive last time out. Paul Townend hardly touched it, and I think for Paul to say that he still can't make his mind up after the last 2 years he's came second and first on the horse, I Am Maximus, for him to have Grangeclare West at the back of his head, I think just speaks volumes. Regardless if he picks the horse or not, I still think for him to make a decision this late just shows what a live chance Grangeclare West has. I have backed him at 10 to 1. I have took the prize because I do think in the back of my head Paul actually might pick this horse. And if that is the case, then that 10 to 1 will soon be 5-6 to 1, I think.
Yeah.
This could be a first for the podcast. Bit of breaking news, but it's just been confirmed he's going to ride I Am Maximus on the Racing Post. He's came out and said that he's going to stick with I Am Maximus. And
not just tips, folks. We do live news as well.
Okay, fair enough. Then I'll might get on the 365 and cash a single out and wait for the day for the best odds now. But yeah,
it won't change that much because he's been priced at 10 to 1, assuming that Paul was going to ride I Am Maximus, I'd assume.
Yeah.
If for you two, just the question: if you could pick one of the likely jockeys to get on Grangeclare West, who would your choices be?
I'd be happy enough to have Brian Hayes on it. You know, came third on it last year. Didn't do a hell of a lot wrong. Decent pilot, and yeah, if Brian Hayes had the leg up, I wouldn't be too fussed about that.
Yeah,
Get Danny on the fucker, and I'll back it twice. I think I've always been big on Danny Mullins, but Brian Hayes he's ridden the horse a couple of times, rode it in the national last year as well. So I think Rachel Blackmore's husband's probably got a good chance of getting the ride.
Yeah, I think he rode it when it was second in the Irish Gold Cup, or he was up
He
there,
would have
wasn't
been,
he? I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
he did, yeah.
yeah, I think that's got a superb chance, and yeah, the Bobby Joe form speaks volumes, and yeah, 10-1 I think is more than a fair price. And then the other one I did like at a bit of a bigger price was Stella's Story at 25-1 for the Gordon Elliott team. Long time since this horse has got his head in front, but I really this horse stays for days. Once an Albert Bartlett winner. You know, that just shows to win an Albert Bartlett you really have to stay. Worn down the jukebox kid that day, who's obviously gone on and won a King George. Albeit doesn't get his head in front very often, he does run well into the places. So yeah, you're probably getting six, 7 places. Doesn't look to have too many mistakes in him, so the obstacles shouldn't be too much of an issue. Yeah, Gordon Elliott's form at the bigger festivals, definitely this side of the Irish Sea, hasn't been too great. But yeah, 25-1 I thought was a fair enough price to see if we can get this horse into a place. So yeah, just the two for me. But I'd much rather Grangeclare West be the winner.
Can you just confirm to people that we don't tell each other what we're on before we do these podcasts?
No, we don't know.
It's all live. Okay. So my two selections for the Grand National this year are Grangeclare West and Stellar Story. That's unbelievable. Grangeclare West, I'm not even going to repeat what Cotty said because he's pretty much nailed everything on the head. He's been running in Grade 1 company for ages. I think I've backed this in the last two Nationals he's run in. He was my saviour on the day because Nick Rocket none of us had, but I had Grangeclare West at 33s. That paid a nice 5-1 each way. So Grangeclare West just looks the quality horse in this for me. Still retains his Grade 1 status. Yes, he's up in the ages, but the majority of these are these days. And Stellar Story, like you said, they're at a massive price. Gordon Elliott's always been the best trainer, in my opinion, in these big race handicaps, and very possibly the amount of, well, I suppose there's the likes of Jerry Clum in there as well, but if Jack Kennedy was to get on Stellar Story as well, that would make things really exciting. But that was simple for me. Just a quick touch on I Am Maximus at the top of the market because he deserves the mention. There's no reason he can't win this off top weight. He was second last year. He was conceding more weight to Nick Rocket than he will be this time round, and eventually I think that caught up with him when he turned in for the elbow. I don't think Nick Rocket can win this again, to be honest. Not saying it was a fluke last year when he did win it, but the preparation's been very different this time. He's only run once. He qualified through Down Royal over a 3-2 chase that Jerry Colon won. Don't think Jerry Colon can win a national personally if he was to turn up here, but doesn't go without a chance. Iroko and Jaguar are horses I've always just left because I can never really figure out who's the better of the two of them. They're like twins, really, aren't they? And obviously, more recent times they've been running in the same races. Gun to my head, maybe Jaguar's a slightly better horse, Matty said there. But interesting to see if that's what Mark Walsh picks. The money's likely to come for that, like it did for the Irish National. But I'm in absolute stellar agreement on the West side with Cotty. I think Grangeclare West and Stellar Story are the two to pick in the National. We'll finish off then with the best bets from Grand National Saturday. Then these two have got a couple of selections for you. I'll come back to Matty first for his.
First race on the Saturday, Salvatore Mundi actually could be my nap of the meeting. I think he's going to be one of my bigger bets of the week. And similar to Imperi Pass, a much better horse in the spring for whatever reason. I know it's been talked about. He's had issues with his feet before, which would make perfect sense. The minute the ground goes a bit harder, it's not as cold. It's just easier to maintain a horse's feet. He's 6-4. I think, like I said, he should take a hell of a lot of beating here. He'd be the first one onto the 2:30 3-mile 1 handicap chase. Look Away goes here again for Neil King, Jack Quinlan. I put him up on the pod last time, I think at quite a nice price actually, and he went and won the big feature 3-mile chase around Kempton in February. Lovely break. Be freshened up since then. Ground will be ideal for him. 10-1. Has got a lug top weight around, but I think this is an improving horse. He's lightly raced for his age, and yeah, he's going to take a bit of beating for me. And then a one that this isn't going to catch too many people out, but I think Wadhu in the Liverpool Hurdle. She's a fantastic mare, so genuine, lots of ability, only does what she has to. And if I learned one thing from the Stayers Hurdle division this year, is that you just can't rely on any of them. So I'm going to take her stepping into this company. 2-1 at the moment. There's just question marks with all of the others, and I think there's not many question marks around her. I'll probably play the double with Salvatore Mundi as well on the day. So yeah, that's those are for me on Saturday.
Well, the Salvatore Mundi, look away Wadhu, enough for treble from Matty on the Saturday. Cotty, your best bets on Grand National Saturday?
Yeah, 2 for me. 1 in the first. Completely agree with Matty. I think Salvatore Mundi is a fair enough price here at 6-4. Beat Romeo Coolio at this meeting last time by 7 lengths in the 2 mile grade 1. I just think 6-4 is a fair enough price in which the field in behind isn't too isn't great. And I'd imagine Mullins, he's been quite careful in what he sent over, and I think he wouldn't be sending this over for no reason with Punchestown 4 weeks after entry. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he was to scoop this grade 1. And then in the last race, I think I've tipped up in both bumpers now, but Bass Hunter was 3rd in the champion bumper. Freddie Gordon sadly misses the ride because I think he's broke his collarbone. But Harry Cobden's come in, and if there's one jockey that can set good fractions from the front and get a horse to settle, it's Harry Cobden for me. So I think this is a very shrewd jockey booking. Get him in nice and early before Mullins gets him in on a 2nd or 3rd string. It's definitely not as strong as the champion bumper, so I think he deserves his spot at the head of the market, and I think he'll take some beating at 5-2.
Yeah, based on in the bumper as well as Salvatore Mundi as well. My nap of the meeting is Ballyfad in the Turner's Moseley Novices Hurdle. He's 5-1. Things didn't work out at Cheltenham. He was stepped up and tripped to 2.5 miles. They were kind of floating between that and the 2 mile race at the Spring. Probably ended up in the right race, finished 10th. Was just a little bit too prominent in Keynes. Showed a lot of signs of what a novice hurdler does in his first season, but obviously 2nd at the DRF behind that horse that Talk that blew out as well in the Supreme. But form line's not brilliant, but I think 5-1 from to bounce back here. I think a flat deck's going to suit him a little better. He's proven he's won at Leopardstown and Down Roll before, where they're not really overly undulating tracks. So I think everything's going to work out in his favour here. That would be my best bet of the meeting. Done. Finito, wrapped up. That is the Grand National Festival into the books then, folks, for 2026. Meeting I always look forward to. We're not going this year, Cotty. It's the first time in a few years that we've not been. I mean, you might make a late decision, but I'm up here and going back down. You might be coming down and going back up. But nevertheless, such a fantastic meeting, and there's a nice weekend of good sport to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely. The starting to get into me golf a bit now, and the Masters being on at the weekend, it looks set to be a good weekend of sport, and good to get the Premier League back on after a couple of weeks of watching a snooze fest. So yeah, hopefully Villa can get the job done on the weekend and cement our spot in the top 4. But yeah, plenty to look forward to, and I believe entry's all sold out now. So unless you win a free ticket on a raffle or something, then wouldn't be for me.
I don't know many raffles at the minute that are going with pre-national tickets, but we'll
There'll
have a
be
look
some
out.
blogger will put something on, won't he, or something, and you'll have a 1 in 500 chance. I did actually win one of those before, about 4 years
Did
ago.
you?
You did. You gave it to me.
Yeah, at the Cheltenham Festival, I won 2 tickets to the Supreme. Don't know why I entered it because I'm a member, but yeah, I won one.
Give one to me. Give one to me and sold the other one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. There you go. There we go. Getting bloggers raffles is what I'm learning there. Matty, like I said, there, a load of sport. County cricket was back at the weekend. There was 12 games, 10 draws. So same shit, different year. But otherwise, it's a nice time of year. Really, I look forward to the national weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said about the cricket's back, I've contemplated popping down to Lords on Saturday. Worcester are playing there. It'd be the first time I'd get a chance to see my county play there, but we'll see. It's a big.
You will get rattled by Middlesex.
Correct, yeah, but I've never been to Lords, so it'd be a great chance for me to visit. And yeah, back to footy on Sunday, and like Cott said, hopefully Villa get the job done, Forest away. And yeah, otherwise it will just be surrounded by Aintree, which I'm looking forward to now after just talking about it for an hour.
Definitely, yeah. A lot of good stuff coming up this weekend, including the Masters, like Cotty said. That's the only time of year I watch the golf, but it should be good fun to watch that. And there's plenty of good stuff going on. Folks, thank you very much for joining us for the Grand National podcast. Of course, a little bit more technically different this week, but we fighted through the boards quite well there, and there's plenty of selections. Grangeclare West, the top of them for the Grand National. We'll be back hopefully next week to be able to review the best of the action too. Looking forward towards Punchestown and the remainder of the flat season. For Matty Blackmore, for Harry Cottrell, my name's Harrison Ferris. Thank you for joining us for the Grand National Festival. Have a lovely weekend at Aintree if you're going, and we'll see you next time, folks.